do that.
It'll just be easier instead of...
Thank you very much. You little ones. Oh, hi there. Hi guys. Hi. Hi. It's Gosling Bedlam in here. When it comes to the farm, this is definitely one of the most enjoyable moments. You know, you got these brand new little baby birds showing up on the farm for the first time, new life coming to the farm. You get to watch them explore the world, discover water for the first time, discover food for the first time, peck around, explore their space. It's a really magical experience to see these little guys come to life. So as I start to scale up my farm operation, I wanted to try to raise an additional 40 goslings this year. The breeds of goslings that have just come onto the farm are actually different than the ones that I hatched a few weeks ago. The ones we hatched a few weeks ago were either Pilgrim or Pilgrim and Emden cross. The birds that I have here are Emden and Toulouse. Emdens turn out to be these beautiful white birds, like when you think of a traditional farm goose, that's an Emden. The Toulouse are those beautiful gray geese. They look like basically a female pilgrim goose like I have here on my farm, but they're a little bit bigger. And the reason I'm going actually with both the Emdens and Toulouse is because they're bigger bodied birds. And so as I'm raising birds for meat, having a bird that's a little bit heavier is just better for the farm business. The pilgrim geese are good though in their own right because I think they make a really good just sort of farmyard goose. They hang out, they're a little bit more sociable, they're a little bit pluckier. They also have that nice feature of you can tell the males from females right from birth. My plan is I'm gonna raise these guys all up. I will select some of the best ones, either Toulouse or Emden. I'm not sure which I want by the end of the season. And I'll keep a few of those aside for breeding for future years. And then the remainder will go off to freezer camp.
Okay, so that's how it's gonna be.
And now I know some of you guys are probably saying that's horrible. How can you have this beautiful footage of these cute little fluff balls and you're talking about raising them for slaughter? And well, that's just the reality of having a farm and eating meat.
Your crazy friend never heard of the food chain.
My goal is for these little fluffy birds to have an excellent life here on the farm and live free and live as natural as possible. And ultimately, when their time comes, they only really have one bad day on the farm. It was kind of sad to lose this one little Toulouse goose. You know, she just never really got a chance. You know, that happens from time to time where you have mortality. I've actually never had a shipment of birds where I've lost one. This is actually the first one I've ever lost in transit. It's a shame, but also another reality of the farm. I think the geese hear the little babies and they are freaking out. And I think they want to check it out and investigate. As I brought the other little ones out here, they're very curious with them. I found that though they will attack, and so I need to still keep them separate. But at the same time, I think they're going to ultimately all coalesce into one big flock, but I got to give that a little time. Part of me wonders what would happen if I took one of the goslings in there and gave it to one of the birds there and see if they would mother it enough because it's so young. That's a cool idea, but it's also very risky, and frankly, I don't want to go down that road. Oh, by the way, speaking of the other little goslings, hold on a second. Got another box of cuteness right here, even though they're really more in their awkward teenage stage at this point. So these were the little tiny goslings we hatched out the other week. Hey guys, out you go. Out you go. Hey, run, Swanson, let's go. I really think it does them good to get some fresh grass, pasture like. So there, right there in the middle, you can see that's the gosling that hatched with the parents. The other ones were the ones I hatched. You can see they're about a week apart in age, and just how big a difference that makes. You know, these guys are starting to flap wings even. She's just still a little baby. I definitely have a couple of Emden Pilgrim crosses here too. They're not all pure breeds. Like I think this one right here, he, she, well, I thought it was initially just a male pilgrim. Based on the weird coloring, I'm gonna guess it's gonna turn out not a pure white or a pure gray, and so it's some sort of hybrid, and I'll have to look as it gets older to figure out the gender. I'll check back in a little bit, guys. So I'm gonna let these guys just sort of do their thing in there, get acclimated to the space. What I'll do is I'll check back in a couple of hours, and I'll show you guys some of the things that I look for when I have the birds in the brooder initially, some of the signs of whether or not they're doing well or poorly. So let's quietly observe and see how they do over these next few hours. Okay, it's now been about 8 hours since I first put the goslings in here. Let's go check on them, see how everybody's doing. Yeah, everybody's looking pretty content and happy. They're all running around, getting action. Some of them you can see were hanging out underneath the heating plate, which is cool. They're drinking water, they still got plenty of water. They know how to drink their water, which is really important. They're eating food. I gotta say, I love how the Toulouse geese look. They're beautiful. They got those nice dark eyes. It's really pretty. Look at them, he's air chomping. You see that? Hey there. Hey guys. It's cool. I'm a friend. No need to feel the hand. You can get comfortable with me. It's funny, when they grow up, that does not feel nearly as cute and adorable as it usually does. In case you guys are wondering, their feed is a combination of chick starter and brewer's yeast. The water is just plain old water, nothing special. I put it in the feeder things, and I have it on top of this hardware cloth so that the water can drain out. That way it keeps all their bedding nice and dry and cleaner longer. My plan will be that I just keep piling up bedding for as long as they go for this batch of birds. I'll only do one clean out once everybody moves out, I think. Maybe I'll clean it more, we'll see. But yeah, right now these guys are doing great. Now I know you guys probably have a bunch of questions about the brooder that I'm raising these guys in, so let me give you a quick tour of what I've got going on. I've built it up over the last month or so, really intending it to be a place that I can raise the birds for the first, I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks of their life. It's a 7x8 shed. I actually used one of those 2x4 basics kits to frame it out. I probably wouldn't do that again if I had a second choice. But the idea is it's a nice solid closed in shed. I do have holes up at the top though for good ventilation. Nice pine siding. It feels like an attractive building. As I mentioned in my last video, right? We've run electrical lines out here to this part of the farm, which is a first for us. We've also run a water line. The water line isn't hooked up just yet, but that'll actually go on next week when the plumbers come, so I'm excited for that. It has this power box here, which is going to be able to give me power here. So I might be actually raising birds even right around this area because I have a nice short extension cord run from here. The other feature that it has that I'm really excited about is it's got this outdoor area. So there's that little door that I can let them out in the mornings if I wanted to as they get a little bit older. And I can let them be exposed to the pasture right away. I've got these 6 little goslings plus the duckling all out here right now. They've been getting to enjoy the space, and I think they've been having a lot of fun with it. But it's a nice secure run. It's not secure enough that I would want like to leave them in here at night. A weasel could easily get in through here because it's only chicken wire, not hardware cloth. But it's secure enough for daytime use by the birds. And at night I can just lock them back up in there where they can keep warm with the heat lamps. So this very much is a specially designed brooder just for raising waterfowl. It's taken the lessons I've learned by raising my other larger batches of ducks and geese, and I've kind of applied those lessons here. And this is going to be a piece of long-term infrastructure that I'm going to leverage. If this works out, I will absolutely be building a second one so that I can brood and raise a whole bunch of birds as the years go by. And meanwhile, our flock of farm geese, the pilgrim geese here, are doing well. We got the 2 goslings that are like the wild goslings. They're not babied at all. They don't live with heat lamps. They don't have special feed at this point. They're just getting their food from the grass and enjoying being outside. I try to give them a little bit of grain to see if they like it and see if they want to at least try to sample some, but they really aren't interested in it. They're mostly interested in the grass, and so they're doing really well. You know, it really is amazing to see the difference that 2 weeks makes. So this gosling that's right here in the foreground, he's about 2 weeks old today, and you compare him to the guys inside there, it's pretty drastic. These guys really like to be around me, by the way. They're much more human friendly than any other goslings I've ever seen. I think that's because we've hatched them ourselves and I've been hand raising them inside the house for the last 2 weeks. Very much friendlier. And then, by the way, we have Ron Swanson, our little duckling. She's doing really well. But he's doing really well. I still don't know gender. Be probably a few more weeks before I can determine that. This duck is a cross between Cayuga and Khaki Campbell, but really, it looks like a Khaki Campbell. Excuse me, guys. I'll bring them in later tonight as it gets a little cooler. They still need to be underneath a heat lamp. But now that I have the power outside, I'm definitely going to be setting up probably a chicken tractor right next to this and have a lamp so that these guys can live outside full time too very soon. Oh, look at that. Allison's home. I have something in the shed I want to show you.
Hi, babies. Hi. Hi, babies. Hi. Hi, sweethearts. Oh, you are every bit as soft as you look. Oh, I love the little wing. You're my best friend. Yes, you are.
Hey,
Hi,
Toby.
Toby.
You want to meet the geeslings?
You see the baby geese?
You know that you're their protector, right?